What is up, guys? It's Fresh, back with another video in the Storytime series. Today we do have Entitled Parents, which I still get more requests for than any other subreddit. I hope you guys enjoy. Entitled Mom in Hospital Complains About Drug Addict Teenager. This story takes place a while back when I was 17. Following some abdominal pain, doctors discovered I had kidney stones. One of them had blocked my kidney, causing it to swell considerably, so I was taken into hospital for treatment. I was placed in the teenage ward, which was a separate bay in the pediatrics ward. Kidney stones are incredibly painful, and at this point I'd already had 2 surgeries, so I was extremely doped up on painkillers. My morphine was administered by IV, but I also had to take tablets several times a day. One night, a kid was brought into A&E with severe breathing difficulties. After being stabilized, he was transferred to the teenage ward. Because of the severity of his condition and his age, 14 I believe, his mom, the entitled mom, was given permission to stay overnight with him. He was brought onto the ward at approximately 1 a.m. and put in the bed next to mine. The noise of his arrival woke me up, and my body realized it hadn't had any painkillers for several hours. I tried to find my call button but could barely move due to the pain, and managed to knock it off my bed instead. So I started moaning in pain trying to find it. The EM flings open the curtain between the 2 beds and stares at me. I ask her to call the nurse for me, but she just stands there glaring at me. I finally get a hold of my call button and the nurse comes over. Before I can get a word out, the entitled mom starts complaining to the nurse at full volume that I'm making too much noise, I'm disturbing her precious angel's sleep, and that at 17 I should be able to deal with the pain, etc, etc. I'm in tears from the pain by this point, and the other kids are waking up from the noise she's making, so the sister, head nurse, politely tells her to shut up. I'm given another dose of painkillers and manage to doze off again, and all is well for a few hours. Come morning, my doctor comes to check on me as part of his rounds. I had a renal specialist as well as the general pediatric doctor. The EM corners him before he can reach me and starts lecturing him about how I'm clearly a disturbance and he needs to sort me out. The doctor, luckily, is amazing and firmly but politely tells her to take a hike. A few hours later, I'm given several of my tablets to take, and the EM blows a fuse. She goes over to the sister again and starts complaining that I'm clearly a drug addict who's faking it for painkillers. She starts demanding that I be transferred to an adult ward as I'm a bad influence to the other children. The head doctor overhears this and is completely baffled. He points out that the medicine I'm taking is all prescribed and I'm doing nothing to disturb the other children as I'm spending all day curled up in bed watching TV. EM changes tactics and starts complaining that the shows I'm watching are sinful and a 14-year-old boy shouldn't be next to a 17-year-old girl. I turn my TV screen round to reveal I'm binge watching Disney movies, and the EM goes bright red. Doesn't stop there though, as she starts demanding her darling boy be put into a side room for peace and quiet as the other children are too noisy. The doctor declines this request as side rooms are reserved for critically ill children, and her son has now stabilized and is in fact one of the ones running around the ward disturbing others. My mom came in to visit me just after this, and the EM attempts a new tactic by first telling my mom that the doctors are overdosing me and I should be taken off of the morphine, and then telling my mom I'd be happier on an adult ward instead of around little children. My mom tells her to get lost, a lot less politely than the doctors did. Luckily, the EM's request to stay the second night was declined as her son was stable and he ended up being discharged the next day. I still have no idea why she hated me so much. Too long, didn't read. EM claims I'm a drug addict, faking kidney stones in order to get painkillers, and disturbing her son with my moaning. Tries to get my morphine stopped, and me kicked out of the ward. Honestly, the first thing that went through my mind when I read this story is just how sad it is. I have yet to visit a hospital that is anything but depressing, and that's the nature of serious medical issues. But there's always a sense of respect for everyone else there. Anyone you walk by in the lobby, you don't know who they are, but you know that a loved one is in one of those beds. You know there's a reason they haven't slept in 2 days, and it sure as hell isn't because they really enjoy the hard plastic chairs that just reek of antiseptic. There's a necessity for sympathy in these kinds of situations. Your emotions are boiling over because of the traumatic reason that you're in this building, but you understand that someone else could be going through something even worse. To not be shown that level of understanding and rather be shown outright disrespect is honestly one of the most depressing things I've ever read on this subreddit. In a hospital of all places, I'm glad OP ended up alright, but I sincerely hope the mom was able to resolve whatever made her lash out at a teenager in serious pain. Entitled parent at Disney World demands our reservations. So my husband and I just celebrated our anniversary. We are huge Disney fans, so we are vacationing in Disney World. 2 days ago, on our anniversary, we had dinner at the Be Our Guest restaurant in the park. Now mind you, this is an extremely popular and hard to get into restaurant. The dining experience takes place in the Beast Castle, the food is divine, and therefore you have to make reservations months in advance if you want a chance to eat there. So that's just what I did. I made reservations back in early November. We were set for a table of 2 on our anniversary. Fast forward to now. My husband and I arrive at the restaurant a few minutes before our reservation time. We get in line and are standing behind a couple with their 2 kids, 1 toddler and 1 maybe 10-year-old. The couple gets to the front of the line and the following conversation ensues. EM is entitled mom. Entitled mom, we need a table for 4 with 2 kids menus. Host, do you have a reservation, ma'am? EM, no reservation, I don't have time for those. Host, I'm sorry ma'am, but we are completely booked for the rest of the evening. If you'd like to leave your phone number, I can put you on the waitlist in case a reservation is canceled last minute. I swear I heard this mom's jaw hit the floor. Entitled mom, you cannot be booked for the rest of the night. Host, I'm sorry, we really are. Entitled mom, well then let's make a reservation for another day this week. Host searches on computer, you're in luck, we have an opening for Wednesday at 9 p.m. Does that work? Entitled mom, 9 p.m.? I have 2 young children. They have to eat before 9. Who has dinner that late? At this point, the 2 kids are getting upset because they are realizing that they won't get to eat at the Beauty and the Beast castle. The mom demanded to speak to the manager. While they waited for the manager, the host motioned for my husband and I to step forward and be helped. When we told the host we had a reservation for 2, the entitled mom taps me on the shoulder and says, "Excuse me, I have 2 girls and we have been looking forward to eating here for weeks. They are just little girls. I'm sure you wouldn't mind letting us use your reservations to make this night magical for them." Me, I'm sorry, but I made these reservations months ago. This is a popular restaurant and today is our anniversary. I can't give you my reservations. Entitled mom, you don't even have kids? What are you even doing here? This is unacceptable. My children need to eat here. I've been promising them this for weeks. You can go eat elsewhere. The manager eventually came and handled the situation, I assume. He also came to our table later on and gave us some free dessert for the uncomfortable situation we were in. Dinner was delicious, and I like to think that Bratty Cathy and her slime children had to eat at a burger stand that evening. Now, certainly no shade toward burger stands on my end, but let me try to give you a little more context on just how hard it is to get a reservation for this restaurant. So obviously, if we look at the time for tonight, if we look for dinner tonight, no reservations available. But let's check a month from now. End of February, no reservations available. End of March, still no dinner reservations available. Let's try the end of April. Look at that, no dinner reservations available. And finally, the end of May. Okay, thank you. Finally, 1 month does indeed have an open dinner reservation for 4, but again, it's 8:35 p.m., which the mom apparently wouldn't have liked anyway. But this is 4 months from now. Now, it turns out that apparently you can book dining reservations at Disney World 180 days in advance of your stay, so it makes sense that a popular restaurant like this would fill up quickly. Now, I mentioned the burger stand shade earlier. Judging by the menu that this place has, featuring a whole lot of French words that probably aren't that appealing to young American kids, I'd go out on a limb and say that they're probably just fine to be eating a burger tonight. My child should have the right to look through your sketchbook regardless of its content. I'll keep this short and simple. Basically, I'm on lunch break at a fast food joint and I take out my sketchbook because, as usual, the best ideas come out while you're eating, on the toilet, or about to go to bed. So I always keep a sketchbook with me in case I want to doodle something on the go. That said, some of the commission work I've done in the past, and currently still do, I have to admit, isn't exactly safe for work. And thus, I don't like people to just look through my sketchbook without asking, because I don't need somebody to see a bunch of naked guys and erect penises in public without warning. I generally keep that stuff on the back section of the sketchbook in order to be able to open the front half in public without upsetting anyone. So here I am, sitting down at a table, enjoying a burger, my sketchbook sitting next to my bag at the other side of the table. In comes random entitled mom and her kid. They walk to the counter, and after a couple of minutes, I guess the kid gets bored of the ordering process and decides to wander around the place. Kid walks by my table, takes one look at my sketchbook, which has cartoony stickers and is probably the gayest looking thing ever, on the cover, and out of nowhere, reaches his hand forward to try and grab it. I quickly put my hand on it and slide it back closer to me. This makes the kid basically get all mopey, and he asks me while wailing, "Why can't I look at the book?" His mother hears this, turns her head towards me like I just basically slapped her child, and gives me a sneering, "What is going on here?" I explained to her that her kid basically tried to grab my stuff without asking me, and that I don't really appreciate this kind of behavior from anybody. She of course gives me, "Oh god, he's just a child. Why are you being so mean about it?" I answer, "Well, it's my stuff. You can't just grab a stranger's stuff. You don't know what's in there anyway." She basically looks at me in a mocking and condescending way. Ha! What exactly could be so terrible? She says as she out of nowhere reaches out to the sketchbook and flips it open to a random page. She freezes, and without looking down at where she opened the page, I know exactly what kind of illustration she must have flipped to, because her face quickly distorts itself in an expression of pure disgust. At this exact moment, I don't know whether I want to laugh or cry, so I quickly close the sketchbook and tell her this is what I was worried about. She then basically explodes at me. "Disgusting! What is wrong with you? Why would you expose people to this filth? My child could have seen this. Oh my god!" At this point, I decide I don't want to get more attention on myself, so I quickly gathered my stuff and left. I was extremely embarrassed. Let's just say I've never taken out my sketchbook out of my backpack in public ever since, unless I had a grip on it at all times. This is exactly the kind of mom that would bring her young child into an R-rated movie and then complain that it wasn't appropriate for him or her. Like, literally, her entitlement is what got her in this situation in the first place. She was warned she shouldn't have been grabbing a stranger's stuff in the first place, and the fact that she got upset is on literally no one but herself. I didn't like the dog that much. I have an aunt that house sat for my grandparents, and when they came back, she sold their dog without their permission. They loved that dog. They never got the dog back. My aunt's reasoning was that the puppy played too roughly with her children. The dog did not bite anyone, and the only reason it was playing roughly was because it was a puppy. She never apologized, and we are still forced to talk to her. Even if the dog was in some way being aggressive to a kid, there are ways to take care of that dog outside of the house until the grandparents come back, but to sell someone else's pet and not think that's unreasonable? What the hell is wrong with you? Entitled mom demands free soda because her kid, quote, doesn't like water. One summer, I worked at a large water park in Florida. I wasn't a lifeguard, so most of the rotations I did were at various counter service restaurants and food stands in the park. Since this was a big tourist spot and it was always hot and humid, we sold a lot of drinks for very high prices. A bottle of water was like $3 or $4. I got plenty of grumpy customers over the course of my employment there, but I never met anyone as entitled as this particular mother. It was around 3 in the afternoon in August, so it was incredibly hot. Despite the park being crowded, the mid-afternoon is a lull for restaurants before the dinner rush, so there was nobody in line at my counter. I see a mother approach with 2 young children, neither of which look particularly happy. Kids get tired and overheated pretty easily, so it was understandable. The entitled mom, or EM, tells her kids to wait back by the path and walks up toward the counter. Entitled mom: "Hi, my kids are incredibly thirsty. Can I get something to drink?" I reply with my usual spiel about drink prices, soda versus water, bottled versus fountain, etc. Upon hearing the prices, entitled mom totally balks. Those numbers just didn't seem to compute, so she asked me to repeat the prices. I tell her that sodas were $3.50 a cup and bottled beverages were $4. She just looks at me incredulously as if I personally set the prices and I personally am reaching into her wallet to pull money without her consent. EM: $4 for a bottle of water? Seriously? Me. I don't make the prices, unfortunately. I just have to follow them. EM. Is there anything cheaper? Me. I can give you a couple water cups for free. Most theme parks in the area will actually give you free water cups if you ask. That's one of the most valuable things I've learned while working in a few different theme parks. EM seemed unsure about this proposal, but unwilling to part with $4, ultimately agreed to the water cups. I grabbed one of the regular soda cups and reached to start pouring water from the fountain. As I was doing so, EM interrupted me. EM. Oh, well, is there any chance you could just put soda in it? My kids don't really like water very much. They'd prefer soda, I think. I stopped for a second to remind her the price of the soda cup. EM. Oh, come on, you already have the cup out. The machine is right there, just pour some soda in. It's not that big of a deal. My kids are really thirsty. Me. I'm happy to get you free water cups, but I'm unable to give you free soda. I'm sorry, miss. I don't make the prices. EM. But you're literally holding the soda cup. It's not that hard just to put soda in it. My kids have had a long day. I'm just trying to get them a drink. Me. Again, ma'am, there's nothing I can do. At this point, EM is starting to get angry. She doesn't seem to like being denied free soda. EM begins to get more confrontational. She starts accusing me of hating kids or being a horrible employee or any number of random insults that popped into her entitled brain. After a few minutes of putting up with this, she asks to speak to my manager. I'm happy to accommodate this request, so I call in my manager and I wait for the backup to arrive. My manager eventually comes over and has a lengthy discussion with EM about soda prices. The whole time, EM continues to disparage me, telling my manager how rude I was and how I was denying her service just because she had children. My manager didn't seem to buy the story, but she didn't seem to know how to get rid of the woman either. Eventually, she ended up just giving the lady a half-filled cup of soda just to make her shut up. EM stomps back towards her kids and actually drank half of the cup before even giving it to either of her children that had been so thirsty. Even if she was just using her kids as a cheap bargaining tool to get free goods, she doesn't deserve any special privileges just for having them. Theme parks, like the water park in this story, actually make most of their money off of concessions, especially beverages, because of how high the margins are. A cup full of soda will cost a park pennies on the dollar, but they can sell it for multiple dollars. I see this comment on a lot of my videos, but just because you popped a kid out, you aren't actually entitled to any special treatment. Just because your kid is, well, a kid, and your kid at that, it doesn't mean that they deserve any special treatment either. It seems like the entitled mom got her way this time, but at least OP didn't end up getting in any trouble, despite entitled mom's best attempts. Maybe next time this EM visits a water park, she'll be able to take responsibility for her own kids' needs instead of pawning it off on some poor, unsuspecting worker who isn't able to give her a free soda. Thank you to everyone who watched this video. Be sure to subscribe for more daily Reddit content. Drop a like if you liked the video, and I will see you all tomorrow.